The call came on our last day in Paris. I was packing while my husband, Michael, was in the shower, getting ready for our flight home. The number on my phone was familiar. His mother, Patricia. "You're homeless now," she said, her voice full of triumph. "I sold your house while you were away. My son doesn't need you anymore." I paused, holding a dress in my hands. Instead of panicking, I smiled. "Check the property records," I said calmly. "What?" Her confidence wavered. "You should check before you make any more claims." Silence. I could hear her breathing, getting more frustrated. "This is impossible," she finally said. "The sale went through yesterday. I have the papers right here." "Do you?" I asked. "And whose name is on those papers?" "My name is Emma, and for the past 5 years, Patricia has tried to push me out of Michael's life. She never thought I was good enough for her son. What she didn't know was that I was always prepared. The house is in Michael's name," she insisted. "He inherited it from his father. I have power of attorney. I can sell it." I zipped my suitcase. "Actually, Patricia, we put the house in both our names 3 years ago. Michael signed the papers himself. And your power of attorney was revoked last year after you tried to take money from our joint account." "You're lying," she hissed. Just then, Michael walked in, his hair still damp from the shower. "What's going on?" he asked. I put the phone on speaker. Patricia's voice was rising. "Michael, tell her she's wrong. Tell her about the sale, about Jessica." Michael's face darkened. "Jessica? Mom, what did you do?" Patricia had tried to sell our house to Jessica Martinez, Michael's ex-girlfriend, the same woman who had recently reappeared in town and kept accidentally running into Michael. "She's perfect for you," Patricia insisted. "From a good family, proper connections, not some book obsessed." "Stop," Michael said firmly. "What you did is not just wrong, it's illegal." "But I have the papers." I could hear her shuffling through them. "Wait, this can't be right." I knew exactly what she was seeing, the truth. The house was legally in both our names, and she had no right to sell it. Any money she had taken from Jessica would have to be returned. "But Jessica already paid a deposit. She's moving in next week." Michael ran a hand through his hair, trying to stay calm. "Mom, call Jessica and tell her there's been a mistake. The house is not for sale." "Michael, please," Patricia pleaded. "We'll talk tomorrow," he said, then hung up. He pulled me into a hug. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. I hugged him back. "It's okay. I knew she'd try something like this. That's why we updated the paperwork." He pulled back and smiled. "My smart, prepared wife. What would I do without you?" "Probably be living with Jessica by now," I joked. On the flight home, Michael turned to me. "How did you know Mom would try this?" I thought about the conversation I had overheard months ago. Patricia and Jessica whispering about how Michael deserved better and needed saving from me. I remembered how Patricia had pushed us to take this vacation, offering to watch the house while we were gone. "Let's just say she's not as subtle as she thinks she is," I said, squeezing his hand. As the plane descended, I smiled. Patricia would be furious, Jessica would be disappointed, and there would be drama waiting for us. But our home was still ours, and that was all that mattered. Sometimes the best way to win wasn't with anger or arguments, it was simply by being prepared. The house looked exactly as we'd left it 2 weeks ago, from the carefully tended flower beds to the fresh paint on the shutters. But any sense of homecoming peace was shattered by the sight of Patricia's Mercedes in our driveway, Jessica's red Audi parked right behind it. "Well," Michael sighed, pulling in beside them. "Looks like we're having a welcome home committee." I squeezed his hand. "Ready?" Before he could answer, the front door burst open. Patricia stormed out, her designer heels clicking against the pavement, Jessica trailing behind her like an eager shadow. "Michael." Patricia's voice carried across the yard. "Thank goodness you're home. We need to sort this mess out immediately." I stepped out of the car, noticing how Jessica's eyes fixed on Michael, a practiced smile playing on her lips. She'd done something different with her hair since I'd last seen her. It was lighter now, styled in the way Michael used to mention he liked back in college. "The only mess here," Michael said firmly, "is the one you created. Mom, the house was never yours to sell." "Don't be ridiculous," Patricia snapped. "I was only thinking of your future. Jessica's father has offered her a position at his firm. She needs a suitable home, and you need—" "What I need," Michael cut in, "is for both of you to leave." Now. Jessica stepped forward, her smile wavering slightly. Michael, please. Your mother explained everything. How unhappy you've been, how you've been looking for a way out. I know we have another chance if. Unhappy? I couldn't help but laugh. Is that what you told her, Patricia? That your son was miserable in his marriage while we were celebrating our anniversary in Paris? Patricia's face flushed. He's too kind to tell you the truth. Always trying to spare everyone's feelings, just like his father. But I know my son. Do you? Michael's voice was quiet but sharp. Because the Michael you're describing, the one who wants to leave his wife for his ex-girlfriend, the one who's secretly miserable, I don't recognize him. That's a fiction you've created to justify your own actions. I moved toward the front door, keys in hand. This conversation is over. You both need to leave. I have a signed contract. Jessica burst out, waving a folder of papers. I gave Patricia a deposit, $20,000. You can't just ignore a legal agreement. A contract signed under false pretenses isn't legal, I replied calmly. You're lucky we're not pressing charges for attempted property fraud. Patricia's face went pale. You wouldn't dare. I'm his mother. A mother would try to sell her son's house without permission? I inserted my key into the lock. Who conspired with his ex-girlfriend to break up his marriage? You're right, Patricia. No real mother would dare do that. The words hit home. Patricia staggered back slightly as if I physically struck her. Jessica's confident facade crumbled entirely. The deposit, she stammered. I need that money back. My father will be very interested to hear how you tried to buy a house without proper authority, Michael finished. Mom, you'll return Jessica's deposit immediately. And then we're going to have a long conversation about boundaries. But, now Mom. I pushed open the front door, breathing in a familiar scent of home. Behind me, I could hear Patricia's protests growing weaker, Jessica's heels clicking on pavement as she retreated to her car. Michael stood his ground, quiet but unmovable, as his mother finally began to understand the magnitude of what she'd done. Later that evening, after Patricia had written a check to Jessica with shaking hands and both women had left, Michael and I sat on our back porch. The sunset painted the sky in shades of pink and gold, the same colors we'd washed over Paris just days ago. I called Dad's old lawyer, Michael said, breaking our comfortable silence. He's drawing up papers to legally prevent Mom from ever claiming power of attorney again. I leaned my head against his shoulder. How are you feeling about everything? He was quiet for a moment, his fingers absently tracing patterns on my arm. Angry, disappointed, but also relieved in a way. I've spent so many years making excuses for her behavior, trying to see the best intentions behind her actions. But this time she went too far. She did it because she loves you, I offered, though we both knew that didn't excuse anything. No, he said firmly. She did it because she wants to control me. There's a difference. He turned to face me, his eyes serious. You know what really gets me? When you caught wind of her plan, you didn't get angry or confront her. You just quietly made sure she couldn't succeed. I smiled, thinking of all the careful preparations, the updated paperwork, the quiet legal consultations. Sometimes the best defense is good documentation. He laughed, pulling me closer, my librarian warrior. Defending our home with property records and legal documents. Don't forget the power of attorney forms, I teased. Those were particularly effective. As night fell around us, we stayed on the porch, talking softly about Paris, about the future, about the boundaries we'd need to establish with Patricia going forward. Our home stood solid behind us, protected not by locks and alarms, but by preparation, foresight, and the strength of our partnership. Patricia had tried to take my home, thinking I was weak. Instead, she'd learned that sometimes the quietest people are the ones you should watch out for the most. 3 months after the failed attempt to sell our house, I was shelving books in the library's quiet reading room when an unexpected visitor arrived. Patricia stood among the stacks, looking smaller somehow in her expensive clothes, her usual confidence dimmed. Emma, she said softly, mindful of the library's silence policy, do you have a moment? I finished placing the last book before turning to face her. We hadn't seen each other since that day in our driveway. Michael had been handling all communication with his mother, insisting on strict boundaries and limited contact my office, I said, leading her to the small room tucked behind the reference section. She sat in a visitor's chair, smoothing her skirt with trembling hands. on my desk. A framed photo from our Paris trip sat on my desk, showing Michael and me laughing at a sidewalk cafe. Patricia's eyes locked onto it. "He looks happy," she said softly. "I haven't seen him smile like that since before you tried to sell our house to his ex-girlfriend." I finished, keeping my voice steady. She flinched. "I deserve that. I deserve worse." She reached into her designer handbag and pulled out an envelope. "I came to give you this." Inside was a formal apology letter, one for me and one for Michael. Along with it were documents showing she'd had started counseling. "My therapist helped me understand some things," she said, her voice shaking. "About control, about letting go, about how my fear of losing Michael made me try to control his life, and how that only pushed him away. I studied the woman who had spent years trying to ruin my marriage." "Why now, Patricia?" "Because I miss my son," she admitted, tears forming in her eyes. "He won't talk to me except through lawyers. And I finally realized my actions didn't just hurt you, they hurt him too." She wiped her eyes. "And because you were right about something." "What's that?" "No real mother would do what I did. I want to be a real mother again if he'll let me." I thought about the kind, loving mother Michael had once described before fear and control took over. Maybe she was still in there, buried beneath years of manipulation. "It will take time," I said. "Trust isn't easily repaired." "I know," she straightened her shoulders, "but I'm willing to do the work." She'd pause at the door. "Thank you, Emma, not just for listening, but for loving my son enough to protect him, even from me." After she left, I sat at my desk for a long time, staring at the Paris photo. That evening, I told Michael about our conversation over dinner. "She came to see you," he asked, setting down his fork. "Why didn't you call me?" "Because she needed to take that step herself," I said, "to show she could respect boundaries while trying to make things right." He read the letter carefully. "Counseling. That's new. Mom always said therapy was for other people." "People can change," I said gently, "if they want to." 2 weeks later, we invited Patricia over for dinner. It was awkward at first, but as the evening went on, something shifted. Patricia asked about our Paris trip and listened, really listened, as we shared stories. She didn't mention Jessica, make snide remarks about my career, or suggest how Michael could do better. Instead, she admitted the truth. "I was so afraid of losing you," she told Michael, "that I never realized I was pushing you away." Over time, these dinners became a habit. Patricia kept going to therapy, learning to show love without control. She even started volunteering at the library's children's program, surprising us all with her gentler side. A year after the failed house sale, we had news to share. Michael squeezed my hand as I spoke. "We're turning the guest room into a nursery," I said. "You're going to be a grandmother." Patricia's eyes filled with tears, but this time, they were happy ones. "A baby. Really?" She reached for her phone, then hesitated. "Would it be okay if I shared the news, or would you rather tell people yourselves?" Michael and I exchanged a glance, noticing her newfound respect for boundaries. "You can tell people, Mom," Michael said warmly. "That's what grandmothers do." Later that night, as we stood in the nursery, I thought about how much had changed. The room Patricia had once tried to give to Jessica would now belong to her grandchild. The house she'd had tried to sell would be filled with love and laughter. Michael wrapped his arms around me. "You're thinking too hard," he teased. I smiled, just appreciating how things work out, how people can surprise you. "Speaking of surprises," he grinned, "want to bet how many parenting books Mom brings over tomorrow?" "No bet," I laughed. "But at least this time, she'll ask before rearranging the nursery." The true victory wasn't in stopping Patricia's schemes. It was in giving her the chance to change, to be the mother Michael had once known and the grandmother she was meant to be. Sometimes the best ending isn't about winning. It's about healing, rebuilding, and making something stronger than before.